Hey there, it's your boy Blue here from Bluebears Games, and this video will be my upgrade guide for the Bloomburrow Squirreled Away Commander precon. Before I get to today's video, I want to first take a moment to ask for your help in supporting my channel. The easiest and cheapest ways to show your support are by liking my videos, subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet, sharing any of my content on your socials, and or by watching some of my many other videos that I've created over the years. Additionally, you can support the channel by purchasing Super Thanks, channel memberships, decks that you may have seen on the channel directly from me on the Bluebears Games Facebook page, and or visiting our sponsor, Arcane Fortress, by using the link that just popped up at the top of your screen and purchasing any of their amazing gaming supplies from them. By using that link specifically, you should receive a 5% discount store-wide. And finally, the last thing you can possibly do to help the channel out is through donations of extra cards that you may have just lying around. Even your bulkiest of bulk will help immensely, so if you'd like to donate to the channel, please message me on the Bluebears Games Facebook page or email me at bluebearsgames@gmail.com and we can discuss the logistics of how. Anything you can do to help support my small channel is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for it. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. For my guides, I start by showing you the cards that I would recommend removing first. Then, I show you the cards that I would add back in that I believe will help make the deck either more fun to play a little better, or hopefully both. If you watched the unboxing video for this precon, you would know that I wasn't entirely sure what direction I wanted to go in for this guide. After a closer look, I decided that I want to lean heavier into Squirrel Typal and the sub-theme of creating tokens, specifically food tokens. Out of the box, this deck wasn't bad, and it already had some good cards for both themes, so this will be more about removing cards that don't advance either of them and replacing them with cards that do. It doesn't sound exciting, but what I'm about to go over will improve how the deck plays. I didn't want to mess with it too much because I know how people feel about it, and I wanted it to be able to do more of what folks love about it and less of what I believe they don't. So, let's get this started, and I'll begin by showing you what I would take out first. I would remove 2 forests, 1 swamp, Exotic Orchard, Temple of Malady, Viridescent Bog, Golgari Signet, Wolf Willow Haven, Plague Crafter, Insatiable Frugivore, Moonstone Eulogist, Skyfisher Spider, Cash Grab, Saw in Half, Gourmand's Talent, and Garrick Cursed Huntsman. That's 16 cards in total that I recommend removing. As per usual, I think there were too many lands, and some of the ones included were pretty bad. I'll be replacing a few of them with some better ones very shortly. Additionally, I also removed some cards that didn't help squirrels or tokens specifically, so that I could make room for ones that do. You'll see what I'm talking about as I give my recommended replacements, so let's just jump right in, starting with the lands. The first land I would swap in is Deathcap Glade. For the 4th time in 4 Bloomburrow upgrade guides, I'll reiterate that there's nothing special here. It's just a much better land to use than a crappy-ass temple. The only downside to this land specifically is that it is monetarily much more expensive than most of, if not all, the other lands in this cycle. The second land I'll recommend swapping in is the Shire. It's a non-basic land that can enter untapped, and while it's not a dual land, it's only replacing a basic forest, so you aren't losing anything by adding it. What you are getting, however, is a repeatable way of creating food tokens, and that's why I would add it. The third and final land that I would swap in is Reliquary Tower. I'm going to add a couple of cards later that will help fill your hand up, so this is just to help prevent you from losing those cards due to max hand size restrictions. The lone ramp card that I would swap in is Thought Vessel. This addition is for the same reason as the Reliquary Tower, but on top of that, it will replace the Signet, which cannot produce mana on its own, and this can. Now we move on to the biggest section of cards that I'll recommend adding, the creatures. There are 7 in total, with 5 of them being squirrels specifically. Squirrel number 1 is Thorn Vault Forager. It's a squirrel mana dork, and it's a repeatable tutor for other squirrels. Who wouldn't want this in this deck? Squirrel number 2 is Honored Dray Leader. I'm recommending this because it plays nicely with food tokens and can become rather large rather quickly. The built-in trample means that it could become a major threat that, if not dealt with, could knock an opponent out or even possibly win you a game entirely. Squirrel number 3 is Valley Rotcaller. This is the closest thing that any non-zombie creature type has to a Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and we should all know how good Gary is. The difference here is that the Rotcaller does its thing as an attack trigger and not an ETB trigger, which means it can be done repeatedly. But we all know that people get repeated use out of Gary as well. Squirrel number 4 is Camellia the Seed Miser. Camellia is basically a lord for squirrels, giving them all menace instead of a static stat buff. It does, however, have a way to buff them with counters, which in some cases could be better. The big thing that Camellia can do, though, is create squirrel tokens en masse for doing something that this deck already is doing, sacrificing food tokens. And finally, squirrel number 5 is Nut Collector. This is pretty close to what Saplings have in Tendershoot Dryad. It's not quite as good, but it's close. Instead of creating a token on each player's upkeep, it only does it on yours, but it does still provide the buff that you want if you have Threshold. Just be careful, this buffs all squirrels and not just your own. Then I would also recommend 2 non-squirrel creatures. The first non-squirrel creature that I would add is Peregrine Took. Repeatable food token creation and card draw? Yes, please. The other non-squirrel creature that I would add is Mirkwood Bats. There's already an Aristocrats sub-theme in this deck. This is the current king of damage when it comes to token-based Aristocrat decks, so this is a no-brainer to add. The lone enchantment that I would recommend adding is Greed. This is one of the reasons that I added the no max hand size cards earlier. With all the life gain you should get from foods, this can take that extra life and turn it into a mass amount of cards, which we all should know is one of the most important things that you can do in Magic. I do have an alternative choice for this spot with a card called Necropotence. The reason I recommended Greed is for budgetary reasons, but if you're not restricted, Necropotence is the much better choice. Either way, repeatable mass card draw is available in black if you have a way to gain life, so why not use it? The last 2 cards I'll recommend before showing you a combo I like are a pair of artifacts that I felt would add some fun into the deck while also improving the food theme. The first artifact is Lembas. Personally, I'm a huge fan of this card, not just in food-based decks, but in any deck that needs help drawing cards. On entering, you scry 1 and draw a card, which is super helpful. But the neat part about this card is that last part. Since it's a food, you can sack it to gain life, triggering the last line, which allows you to shuffle it back into your library. That means that this is sort of repeatable card draw if you can draw it multiple times in a game. Like I said, I really like this card, and I believe you will too if you get a chance to use it as I just described. The other artifact I would add is Nuka-Cola Vending Machine. This is the most expensive card monetarily that I'll recommend for this guide, but boy, is it worth it. Repeated food token making is super helpful, but that second ability is extremely helpful as well. With this out, whenever you sack a food, you get a treasure token in its place. I'm not sure if you noticed, but this deck now has a lot of ways to turn creating a single token into a lot of other things. Between Academy Manufacturer, Peregrine Took, and Mirkwood Bats, there's plenty of other things that can happen when you create tokens, so getting a free trigger for sacking one can cascade into a lot of other triggers. It may be monetarily expensive, but it's definitely worth it. Now for the fun part of this guide, the combo. The one I'm about to show you is simple, but very effective. Oh, and it's very on theme for this deck specifically. It uses Scurry Oak paired with Ivy Lane Denizen. Who doesn't love infinite squirrels? I know I do. How this combo works, and everything it does is explained in the link at the top of your screen, but the gist of it is you get infinite squirrel tokens. How can you not love that? I also want to point out that the additions I suggested earlier of Peregrine Took and Nuka-Cola Vending Machine together also makes an infinite combo. These 2 cards together can result in drawing infinite cards, and how it works is explained in the new link at the top of your screen. I also want to point out that adding Academy Manufacturer to either one of these combos just starts making things crazy, so keep that in mind as well. I'm sure there are more combos with all the additions that I just showed you, but time is short, and I'm pretty sure you want to get out of here. So that, my fellow spellslingers, is my upgrade guide for the Bloomburrow Squirreled Away Commander precon. While everything I just showed you probably won't make this precon a top tier deck, who cares? It's Squirrels. It will just be a hell of a lot of fun to play, and if you win with it, even better. For all 16 cards that I just showed you, it would only cost you a little over $30, which is fantastic considering how cheap that is for all the fun this deck will now provide you. I'm actually a little shocked at how low this is considering how expensive the vending machine is. I'm also very happy with how this guide came out, and think this would be one of the most fun precons you play with if you make all the changes. So, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on all the changes that I just recommended in the comments. Well, my friends, that's all I've got for you this week. Thanks for watching, but if you're looking for more Magic related content to watch, please browse through my channel as I'm sure you'll find more of my videos that you'd enjoy. Before you go though, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. This will notify you when I release new content, which I do every Friday, sometimes on Saturdays and now occasionally on Mondays. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all very soon.